2020, the year where major breaking auto racing stories take place at 7:30 on a Thursday night. This is, at least it's not a bathrobe video. That's what I was worried about. Some of these news stories have broken so late at night that I had to break out a bathrobe and do my fireside bathrobe chats here. This thankfully broke a little bit earlier, even though I was in the middle of dinner when it happened. But let's talk about the big news involving Clint Bowyer and the future of the number 14 for Stewart Haas Racing, the NASCAR Cup Series. And yes, Clint Bowyer announced on Twitter in a letter written that his 16-year NASCAR Cup Series career will be coming to an end at the end of the 2020 season. And not only that, he's already got his second career picked out. He will be headed to the Fox Sports booth to help cover the races with Jeff Gordon and Mike Joy. And of course, we're going to be talking about who will be filling that number 14 seat at Stewart Haas Racing next year. And I know everybody's going to be jumping to Kyle Larson, the Kyle Larson conclusion. But as you may have seen in the video that I posted earlier today, it's looking extremely likely that he will be in the fourth Hendrick Motorsports entry next year. I've done several videos on that. It's almost becoming a meme at this point, so go check those out. It looks like the number one candidate for the number 14 is Chase Briscoe, who has been absolutely tearing it up in the NASCAR Xfinity Series this year, and quite honestly, it's a great choice. I know Tony Stewart is definitely a dirt racing fan. I know he's on record about Kyle Larson and his desire to get him back. But Chase Briscoe, he's the Xfinity Series driver for Stewart Haas Racing. You gotta think that he's the front runner for this seat. And yeah, let's talk about Clint Bowyer for just a little while, because this is definitely a surprise. It's not necessarily a surprise that he's out of the 14, but I guess it's a surprise that he's retiring this early. I mean, I guess it makes sense to a certain extent. I know Wookie on Twitter let me know that, look, he's a father, he's a new father, he's going to have another kid on the way pretty soon, and certainly that changes a person, there's no doubt about it. And I think you also have to look at the performance side of things. I mean, you would consider the 14 to be an elite level race car. You're looking at what his rookie teammate Cole Custer's been able to do this year, already scoring a race win. Clint Bowyer hasn't won, I think, since 2018. This may have been just the time, certainly. However, there's definitely some things to speculate on in regards to a comeback, because a lot of times you see these drivers, they step away from the sport for a couple of years and they come back. I know Carl Edwards is the great example of that not being the case, but I just have a feeling, especially with, and there are rumors too that maybe Fox is not going to be around forever in terms of NASCAR coverage. This could be a short-term thing to get Bowyer's name back out in the spotlight and then come back 2 or 3 years down the line and jump back in the seat. There's all sorts of possibilities here. Clint Bowyer, it's weird. At least personally, I liked Clint Bowyer when he came into the sport. Certainly Spingate hurt my opinion of him for a little while. He's gradually been gaining it back. I don't have any ill feelings toward him anymore. And it's kind of funny to think about Spingate as kind of the thing that set the entirety of modern NASCAR kind of in motion. So I guess Clint has that going for him for sure. At times, I mean, Clint Bowyer was a championship caliber driver. He was a driver who absolutely could go out there and at least compete at that high level. Certainly was able to jump into teams like Michael Waltrip Racing and make sure that they were competitive. So he's obviously, if he never gets back in the cockpit, he's had a great career. Let's talk about his next career, though, because I think that's going to be fun. Because one of the things that kind of warmed me back up to Bowyer was him getting into the broadcast booth. I think he's done a few Xfinity races over the past few years. He's certainly shown quite a bit in the iRacing this kind of second off season, I guess you could call it. And that was really, that had to have been the point that Fox said, look, we got to try to make this guy an offer. Certainly the stars aligned with potentially Briscoe heading or moving up, and potentially Tony Stewart saying, look, I'm going to make this move anyway. It's either, gracefully walk out the door or I fire you, sort of thing. And I think, ultimately it was the graceful thing to do for everybody involved. But I think Bowyer, in the broadcast booth especially, brings a lot of that Southern charm that the great NASCAR broadcasters all have. I mean, I think the go-to, and honestly, go-to across all motorsports, not just NASCAR, is Benny Parsons, as far as I'm concerned, is in terms of an analyst. And I'm not saying that Clint is Benny Parsons by any stretch of the imagination, but he's got some of those ingredients that made Benny Parsons so nice to listen to. I think Bowyer's entertaining. I think he's fun. I think he's going to play well with Jeff Gordon and Mike Joy especially. I think a three-person booth is what NASCAR on Fox particularly has really needed since Darrell Waltrip and Larry McReynolds got split up. I don't think Gordon and DW really had that great of chemistry, but it seems like Gordon and Bowyer have good chemistry, especially when you bring Larry Mack in and have Mike Joy kind of doing the moderating. I think it'll be really good. Let's talk about, to kind of wrap this up, where the future of the Stewart Haas Racing number 14 is. Again, I think Chase Briscoe is the obvious choice for several reasons. Again, it looks like Hendrick is looking at Larson, and again, I know there's going to be a ton of people who are going to tell me how wrong I am thinking Hendrick is going to hire Larson, that Chevy disavowed him and XYZ. Well, I would say to the opposite extent, Ford is the reason that Chase Briscoe is going to get that seat. If you want to play that game, it's not necessarily that Ford is like opposed to Larson, but Ford is essentially paying for Chase Briscoe to race in Xfinity. They want Chase Briscoe in Cup. This is the best seat available in the Ford camp for next year, and it's in the family, like I said, with Stewart Haas Racing. Chase Briscoe is an Indiana boy. That appeals to Tony Stewart. Obviously, we've seen that over the years. He usually hires drivers that are either have dirt experience or are friends with him or are from Indiana. And I think Chase Briscoe checks every single one of those boxes. And also, Chase Briscoe has been awesome. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if you're looking at the free agency list right now in NASCAR, Larson's number 1 and Briscoe's number 2. And from a PR standpoint, Briscoe is like the most white bread guy you could have. There's nobody who's gonna make any negative headlines if you hire Briscoe. So from that perspective, he's the right choice. I think he's going to do a fantastic job. I mean, he's impressed the hell out of me in Xfinity Series this year, and I can't wait to see what's going to... I mean, ultimately, I think, again, a lot of people... You're going to hear this from a lot of people. This is a good move all around. It makes the NASCAR on Fox effort stronger. It makes Stewart Haas Racing stronger. It gets a young driver who a lot of people are very high on into the Cup Series. It sounds good to me. So let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Bowyer going to Fox, potentially Briscoe going to the 14, or go ahead and make your Larson arguments. It's fine. It's more comments. It's great for me. I'll be in New Jersey Motorsports Park this weekend for Road to Indy. That's first major open-wheel race in New Jersey, as far as I can tell, since 1991 in the Meadowlands. So that'll be interesting. We'll see you in the next video, unless I need to do a bathrobe video, in which case something will probably break at midnight tonight. We'll see you then.